Hello, this is Iconinsight. Today, we're covering Samchungdang Pharm's Phase 1 and 2 clinical trial plan approval in Germany for its oral insulin, SCD-0503. When this approval finally arrived, the market's reaction was skeptical, dismissing it as a delayed process and merely a Phase 1 trial. That reaction confuses a regulatory delay with a rejection. A rejection means a trial is completely, permanently blocked. A delay is the natural result of answering demanding questions from regulators to ensure a trial is safe. Calling this a basic Phase 1 safety check also misunderstands the science. This Phase 1 and 2 trial is the core validation stage, designed to confirm whether oral insulin actually absorbs into the human body and effectively regulates blood sugar. The time it took to get here was not a symptom of a technical flaw. It was the precise timeline required to survive an exceptionally complex vetting process in Europe. To understand that timeline, we have to look at the European Union's recent shift to the Clinical Trials Information System, or CTIS. Approvals are no longer simple, single-country submissions. They are massive, centralized regulatory reviews. Under CTIS, a single submission splits into two tracks. Part 1 handles EU scientific evaluation, and Part 2 addresses national requirements. Regulators often issue a request for information, or RFI. This completely stops the official review clock, freezing the timer while sponsors prepare detailed answers. Germany actually aims for fast approvals, often between 26 and 31 days for perfect applications. The extended timeline here was strictly the result of this necessary RFI back and forth for a difficult drug, not a slow bureaucracy. Surviving this labyrinth means European authorities rigorously examined the underlying science, ultimately deeming the core premise credible enough to proceed to human testing. The biological hurdle is just as severe. Oral insulin is famously difficult because insulin is a large protein hormone. When swallowed, stomach acid and digestive enzymes typically destroy it before it can cross the intestinal wall and enter the bloodstream. The stakes for getting this right are absolute. If absorption is too low, the patient's blood sugar remains uncontrolled. If absorption spikes unpredictably, it triggers severe, potentially fatal hypoglycemia. The trial tracks two metrics. The top PK graph shows pharmacokinetics, insulin entering the blood. The bottom PD graph shows pharmacodynamics, blood sugar dropping. A euglycemic clamp injects exact units of glucose to hold blood sugar perfectly flat, directly measuring the insulin's effectiveness. The company chose an uncompromising trial design to capture these metrics. By testing on type 1 diabetics, who produce essentially zero insulin of their own, and measuring how food affects absorption, they are taking on the hardest variables directly. This intense design forces the S-Pass delivery platform out of theoretical debates. The goal is to translate abstract claims into undeniable, real-world numerical data. Going forward, investors waiting for a distinct Phase 2 approval announcement might miss the actual progress. This trial can seamlessly advance through its exploratory phases within the currently approved protocol. The true indicators of progress will be the first patient dosage, the initial safety checks proving severe hypoglycemia can be avoided, and the top-line numerical results for those PK and PD metrics. The implications of this extend far beyond just this single drug. Success here provides human validation for the entire S-Pass platform, proving it can effectively deliver large molecules. That excitingly opens the door to modifying exactly how other injected peptide and protein drugs, like GLP-1 treatments, are administered. The trial still faces genuine risks regarding absorption variability and food effects. These are not reasons to doubt the process. They are the exact questions this clinical trial was explicitly built to answer. The time for debate has ended, and the time for hard data has begun. This approval is a starting line. Please remember that all analysis provided by Iconinsight today is not a recommendation to invest in any specific stock or asset. Investments must always be based on your personal financial situation and careful judgment. If you have any specific questions or additional topics you'd like us to deeply cover, please leave them in the comments and we will reflect them in future videos. Please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. Thank you for staying with us until the end.